of people think that cannabis is just for smoking, but when they hear this song, they'll learn there's more to toking. 25,000 different things we can make from it, and if we give it a chance, we'll save the blinking planet. Food, fuel and medicine, necessities for life, a benefit to all of us, our wonder and delight. Within this smelly weed, there's more than meets the eye, so much, much more than smoking, it can cleanse our dirty skies. Cannabis, cannabis, we'll save the planet with cannabis. Cannabis, cannabis is a very useful weed. Cannabis, cannabis, we'll save the planet with cannabis. Cannabis, cannabis is very good indeed.
It's Friday. It's Hemp Works.
I love it.
It's great. And we've got Dr. Beth Fisher, because we love Dr. Beth Fisher. It's Friday. Yes. And we've got... Yeah. Dr. Beth, have you ever met Matthew before, our guest this evening?
No, I have not. Matthew, it is a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Wonderful.
What did you want to talk about tonight?
Well, apparently, on my bio that I've got from Beth, my production manager guy, he says you're an inventor.
Well, I suppose it's. I'd say it was more of a reinventor.
A reinventor.
Yeah, how about that?
Okay, so what have you reinvented, Matthew?
I think I've perhaps reinvented the use of cannabis and sex.
Well, that sounds very interesting. And how did you reinvent that?
Well, I used to run a condom company.
Oh, really?
And so I was sort of on the other end of the spectrum, and which, condoms obviously are a diminishing sensation and increasing protection overall. But I had the opportunity to travel a fair amount and speak with a large number of people here in the States, and it was pretty apparent that there's an overwhelmingly large number of women specifically that are dealing with some very specific sexual-related issues that the FDA hasn't really solved for. They haven't really presented them with anything on a par with Viagra or the around 24 other drugs that they've approved for male sexual dysfunction. So I thought this is kind of ridiculous. I know there's a level of complexity here with female physiology, but we've got to do better than zero.
Even have a go at something. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So, I mean, personally, I've used cannabis throughout the years at various times, and certainly it has the ability to enhance sensuality with a partner or even with oneself. So I got to doing some research around the use of cannabis historically, and, it's a pretty remarkable plan. I mean, we've got for a couple thousand years of its use is in relationship to human sexuality. So I thought there's something here to be explored.
Yeah.
And so essentially it took that basic premise and looked at modern extraction, purification processes, and tried to find the best base oil that would be good for feminine hygiene and sort of feminine health and wellness overall, and that tends to be coconut oil. And they've infused coconut oil with a very pure THC extraction, and it's applied directly to the female genitalia for absorption.
Fantastic. So can I just, Dr. Beth, can I just jump in there? Can we just go back into the history a bit more, please, Matthew? I love hemp history, so I'm totally intrigued as to what you might have found out in antiquities where they used it.
Well, unfortunately, there's not a tremendous amount on the historical record. I mean, there's certainly a lot of reference, anecdotal reference in some Hindu text as far as the use of cannabis, or bhang as they called it. They actually made a drink that was known to enhance sensation, and it's interesting because the THC molecule, which essentially is the plant version of anandamide. Anandamide got its name from that same lineage. It's the bliss-inducing neurotransmitter, so to speak. And I'm no scientist nor physician, so there's a doc on the line. Feel free to correct me at any point in time.
No, you're right on the money, and I do like the fact
Yeah.
that you're using coconut oil with that. That is a good transfer oil to use. And you're right, Steve, not only is there not a lot of literature on that, even the more recent literature, when I wrote a piece on it last year, it was that there were just two cannabis mainstream articles on that. But yes, you have an enhanced endocannabinoid system. You've got those receptors at the uterine level. So it would make sense that either going anally or vaginally, that would go directly to where it needed to be, to dilation, to mucous membranes, places like that.
Well, I have a question for you, because one of the most fascinating things that we've discovered in around 18 months of sort of development of the medicine and the trials that we went through, and we worked with women from 70 to 20, so it was across the pleasure spectrum of age and different physiologies and different bodies. And what we were finding in an overwhelming way was that women are not really getting any type of psychoactivity from the plant being introduced to the body in this way. The effects were mostly sensation oriented. They were more feeling based, as opposed to sort of a mental high that people would associate with smoking marijuana, which we felt was a big breakthrough, because a lot of women said, well, I'd like to use this to enhance sensation, to help with dryness, to help overall with accessing pleasure, but I don't always want to get high every time I have sex. So I just wanted to put that out there to you guys to see what your insight might be as to how the body's metabolizing the THC in such a way that there's no high involved with the vaginal absorption.
Dr. Beth?
Oh, thank you, Steve. Really, when I take a look at it, and I think it has to do with application. It has to do with how that is being taken. Let me start again. I think it has to do with application. Is it direct from trichomes? Are you talking about taking the trichomes from the plant as you're gardening and you're applying it? Are you talking about using it as a poultice? Will have different properties. Even using topical oils would be different. So you're going to have to take a look at those variable factors. And then with regards to your product, Fiornia.
Oh, no, just Foria, like euphoria without the
U. Anyway, with Foria, that you're taking a look at that and you're looking at dilation. Now, you're not really, a female is not going to be able to reach in and look at the dilation rate, but that still is an indicator of what's going on. So you've got to be, that's really, really important for that. Also for secretion, are you measuring for that as well? There's just, I'd have to take a look at the data. I'd be,
sure,
happy to, but I think that it has to do with application and where, and then, how the product is being, at what level is purity, things like that. And all those things you can answer, because if you're collecting the data, I know that you're, running those baseline foundational information sites.
Well, it's really, I think it's very encouraging, the anecdotal data that we've been able to collect just from the small group. I mean, it's only a few hundred women at this point, because we're quite new. And the opportunity there to do further research is very encouraging for us. And the plant's adaptability, and it's so agile in how it works really with the individual, where they are. I mean, if you look analogous to using cannabis for sexuality, like Viagra, primarily as a vasodilator, it does a singular thing that, if you're a young, virile young man, you might not necessarily have any need for it. But with cannabis, what we're finding with women is that it will really work with and enhance the experience of the woman, sort of irregardless of how old she is or where she is with regard to her sexuality.
I can see that as well, that it's time, place, all those settings. It's just human nature, and it can't be calculated at that. It's very interesting, because we know that with those receptors in that area, it just absolutely makes sense for your product. It really, really does. Now, tell me something about what the product looks like. Describe the products for our listeners. And listeners, remember that this product was designed to have sexual activity be enhanced, be prolonged, be repeated. And we need to be thinking about it from a good medical, healthy point of view. So given that, please let us know more about your product.
Sure. So what we did was we realized that we really wanted to be able to standardize in a consistent way how the individual wanted to medicate or use the medicinal. And coconut oil was a great base oil for that, but coconut oil in its regular way that we're used to working with it, it's at room temperature, it coagulates and it turns into a solid. So that was challenging in terms of from a sanitation standpoint and from the standpoint of really regulating the dose. And one of the breakthroughs for us was to decide to use what's called mid-chain triglyceride, which is coconut oil with the long-chain triglyceride removed. And that puts the coconut oil in its pure form into a liquid state. And it stays at a liquid state even at room temperature. And it's also very fatty, so it bonds very well with the THC that we're putting into the coconut oil. So you have a very pure, quite a simple product. It's fairly complex in terms of the extraction and the purification of the THC itself. But the product we wanted to keep very, very simple because, one of the drivers for us was to put something out onto the market that really has little to no potential long-term or short-term side effects for women's health. As you probably know, the few drugs that are out there for dryness and for pain really come with a long list of small print of increased cancer risks and increased risks of heart attacks, and it's quite severe. So we were excited to be able to come up with something that was very simple, and the individual can know exactly what's in it and the likely results of the use of that product. So we have a 1 ounce bottle of liquid coconut oil that's infused with 360 milligrams of purified THC.
Wow.
So that allows for around 30 servings. A serving size is 12 milligrams of THC. And that's a baseline. Some women tend to use more, some will use less. And then each spray, it's a spray pump, so it's a mister. It puts out 2 milligrams of THC.
That's quite a big dosage, really, isn't it?
That's wonderful. So I have another question.
Me first.
Oh, go.
What does it taste like?
It's interesting. In the early tests, when we used the coconut oil and just the oils that we were able to find on the market, one of the complaints that we had was the smell. Where not everyone really wanted to walk around smelling like a joint all day long. And so we really worked with that. And so the individuals that we're working with, where we get the purified THC oil, the terpenes that are associated with the smell are removed. So there's no marijuana smell. And when you turn coconut oil into MCT oil, it also removes most of the smell of the coconut oil. So it's fairly benign. It tastes a little nutty and it tastes good, but there's not a very strong smell to smell at all.
So being 100% natural, 2 being almost most coconut oil is intrinsically organic anyway. They don't use a lot of pesticides on coconut. Same with the cannabis plant. We don't really tend to use that much.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically intrinsically got an organic product which actually is edible.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the edibles were, usually when we have people walk up to us, and if they're partners, if it's a guy and a girl or 2 girls, and then when we say, well, this is designed to be applied topically on the female genitalia, and then usually the partner, if it's a man, will sort of drift off, and then we'll say, and it's edible, and then they'll come back into the conversation. So,
well, that's important, isn't it? Because a lot of these other creams that are on the market from the pharmaceutical companies do contain quite a high percentage of toxicity.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not really designed for any oral. In fact, I think some of them carry warnings, don't take orally. It's a bit like toothpaste, isn't it?
The only warning that we would put out is that while women are reporting not really getting high when using it topically, then just having enhanced sensation, their partners or themselves, if they take it orally, they will get quite high, consistent with eating an edible.
That's what I was thinking. 2 grams per serving. That's quite.
Well, 2 grams. Yeah, 2 grams is 2 grams is not that strong. I personally only take 1 to 2 sprays, and that's enough for me.
On that, the borderline, really, isn't it? I need to laugh because it's very interesting. I think that is such a, because if you're going to have an oil of this particular nature, it really should be edible.
I would think so.
Yeah,
yeah.
And also, I actually come from the cosmetics industry, so I can really resonate with what you're talking about. And I've always maintained that every cosmetic I make, if you can't eat it, you shouldn't be putting it on your skin. Now, some of my creams don't taste particularly nice,
right.
But nevertheless, if you do eat them, you won't come to any harm.
That's right, and I can support Steve on that because I did taste a beautiful cream that Steve has. Beautiful. Oh, listeners, just wait. It's incredible. And I tasted it because I do that, and it did taste, it was like, okay, I could eat this if I needed to. And listeners, remember that at this process here that keeps the coconut oil liquid, you need to understand that coconut oil is a solid until about 77 degrees, a warm room, not a hot room, but a warm room.
Yeah.
Then it is liquid. So when you're internalizing it, it's good for you on the outside. It's good for you on the inside. In fact, is it Makuna that there is an entire island that is run on coconuts? It really is.
I believe Cuba has a very large coconut industry. They do a lot with coconut. Yeah.
Yes. Well, let's go back to Matthew. So, Matthew, now that you've done this for females, have you applied it for males?
Yes, absolutely. It's a smaller test group, so we haven't really been talking about it too much in the public. But there's certainly an interest there, and the feedback that we've gotten from the individuals that have been trying in that manner, both men and women, is that there is a similar analogous enhancement for sensation around pleasure, both leading up to and through climax. But the difference being is that the high is much stronger. It's more similar to taking it orally. So that's something to be aware of. And for us right now, we're doing some R&D around the application process and the ease with which we can present that into the market. But again, I just wanted to point out that for us right now, the focus is really on a product designed for women because there's such a need for it here in the States. Yeah. And guys, we have a lot of options in the market for sexual dysfunction, and it's just such a gaping hole there that they need to be filled. And this is why not use cannabis? It's got a long history here of helping us as people throughout different civilizations.
Yeah. I must admit, by the way, Matt, I think Matthew, well done. I think the product that you created is coming from the cosmetics sort of my health side. I think it's wonderful, and how you put it together, I think is wonderful. Yeah.
I do appreciate it. Thank you.
How you've actually looked, you haven't just gone and got some hemp oils and things and slapped them all together. You actually understand the structures, why the chemical. Can I just get this completely right though? So what you're saying is with this oil that you're using, that you've manufactured or reinvented, so when it's taken orally, it can have a psychotropic effect. When it's taken orally by the male, it can have a psychotropic effect. But when it's used by the female internally, the female doesn't actually get the psychoactive effect from it.
Well, when you say internally, as long as you mean if it's for topical application to the female genitalia, that's correct.
To the female genitalia, absolutely, yeah. So when it's applied to the female genitalia, there's obviously some chemical reaction inside of the vagina and the secretion of the vagina liquids, if that's the right word, that most probably neutralizes the THC psychotropic effect.
It's a fascinating question, and the fact that it's the female flower of this plant, and
it's a female flower.
It's the THC is essentially a secretion of the plant that then we take in as an aphrodisiac, and perhaps it has the same type of aphrodisiac type for the pollinators that are capturing it and pollinating. So it's Matthew, an interesting question that I'd love to do more research on.
Matthew, when you get a bud, Like, when you go and find, when the plant's growing out in the wild, right, if you get a microscope and you look at the fan leaf, you will see that what she does is she's got that long stem coming down, yeah, from the fan leaf itself. And if you watch that, it goes into a channel. And if you follow that down with a microscope and you look at where that stalk connects itself to the stem of the female mother plant, and you look at that under a high magnification lens, you will see that that receptacle there, that's where the pollen from the male plant gets trapped, rolls down that stem, rolls into this receptacle where it impregnates the female plant. When you look at that under the microscope, it looks like a vagina.
No, it's fascinating.
It's fascinating. When somebody showed me that, I was just in absolute awe. It's almost identical.
It's beautiful, Steve. What a beautiful, beautiful description.
Thank
Matthew,
you.
beautiful, beautiful. How, Matthew, how is it extracted? How is the THC extracted? Is it a BHO, a PHO, or a CO2 process? I know the listeners out there are asking those questions.
Yeah, here in California, it's a CO2 process, and one of the breakthroughs for us was working with this company called The Clear. And The Clear are some pretty smart guys and gals, and with science backgrounds, and they've developed a proprietary purification process which really, really scrubs clean the oil. Because early on, we were sourcing from organic farmers, and then we were taking that flower and sending it to labs, and we were getting molds and pesticide residue back in the reports. And that was a showstopper for us. That was not going to work given the sensitivity of our product. So The Clear can consistently provide us with a pesticide-free, solvent-free, mold-free end product. And for us, that's great, because then we can say we have the cleanest product on the market. And for your listeners out there, it's really a concern here in the States that me personally, I'm trying to raise more awareness around the fact that a lot of the flour that's being smoked and a lot of the products that are being made, they're not being scrubbed of pesticides and other chemicals. So people who are ill are taking this as a medicine, and they're reintroducing other compounds with unknown side effects back into their system that could be carcinogenic. And that's a huge concern. And all the more need for some form of regulatory to start looking at this industry more closely.
They're just so interesting. Listeners, when we return, we're going to find out more about Foria and how it does work on high tolerance patients. When we come back, thank you, Casper, and get ready to sing.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away.
Don't criticize it.
Hotbox Jamaica. chill, relax, and burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special. 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. Hotbox Jamaica, a higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com, or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Education and information. See what all the buzz is all about. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp.
Rationality, liberality, open out your minds. The sun is closing in and we're running out of time. There's no point in worrying, no wondering what to do, cause the answer's in the colour green, it's shining through and through. Cannabis, cannabis will save the planet with cannabis. Cannabis, cannabis, it's a very useful weed. Cannabis, cannabis will save the planet with cannabis. Cannabis, cannabis is very good indeed. Cannabis, cannabis will save the planet with cannabis. Cannabis, cannabis.
Tony Macaroni, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. All I can say is, Casper, you've got to start recording our off-air moments, because some of the chats we have off-air are quite interesting, to say the least.
Let's stop. We're having a serious discussion. We want Matthew to think that we are knowledgeable newscasters and that we do our good investigation process, and we're serious. And then
you
after
guys, you're sitting around in lab coats, right? But there's nothing underneath the lab coat. That's what I'm concerned about.
No, I didn't pick a lab coat today. I'm still in yoga. No. Okay. All right. So we have a question here. Matthew, have you done the testing with women or in your male population who have high tolerance for pain and for spasticity issues, for high tolerance patients?
I'm sorry, to clarify, high tolerance for pain or high tolerance for THC?
Well, high tolerance. Let's first take high tolerance for pain, because if you are in pain, it's even much harder to be able to relax and ease those muscles and really take your time and enjoy the sexual interactions.
Well, I think we haven't specifically targeted individuals that are trying to mitigate pain and using medical marijuana for that purpose. There's a lot of other topicals and edibles on the market that certainly would address pain specifically and pain receptors. And again, our product was more designed for the pleasure side of the spectrum. But, you make a good point, which is the relaxation piece. And, we're finding that seems to be one of the primary inhibitors in the body's ability to experience pleasure. Or experience it fully, that there's a lot of residual stress that we all carry around just because of the pace of living and the intensity of living in the modern digital world. And that the plant definitely seems to help us relax in a deep, deep way. And it's an interesting point is that a lot of the older individuals that are finding benefit with the use of Foria, they use it to sleep. And women are applying it topically to help them sleep at night. And these are women that are postmenopausal, that they, through their hormonal changes, have a hard time getting a good night's sleep. And a lot of them have told me that they don't enjoy the sleep medications that they've been on, and it gives them horrible nightmares. And they're slowly weaning off of those sleep medications and just using this oil topically.
That would make sense. Absolutely. All right, Matthew, let's go to that second question. How does it work on patients who have high tolerance for THC?
Similar to the use of any other oil. I mean, if we do have a lot of our early testers, we targeted individuals that have long-term use of cannabis, and they're very comfortable with the results in their body and mind of use of the plant. And early on, a lot of the feedback was, it has to be stronger, it has to be stronger. And so we continue to strengthen our batches and put them out to them. And so we finally got to this place where, the 2 milligrams per spray gives them the freedom to self-medicate. And if they need 12 milligrams, they can take 12. If they need more, they can take more. And a lot of the testers started to be creative. They were applying it topically, and then they were taking a couple sprays orally as well. And so they were mixing and matching and getting different responses. But, one of the interesting things we've heard recently is that a longer, what we call a marination period, is more beneficial. So we originally were saying 15 to 30 minutes after applying, and now we're pushing that to 30 minutes as a baseline and all the way up to an hour. Wow. Where it really gives the time for the medicine to move and saturate deeper into the body. Release. Right.
Yes, because I can almost see a shorter interval for topical application done more frequently, maybe starting if you were looking at sexual intercourse at maybe evening time, that you might want to, and just beginning application, you might want to apply more frequently for the first 24 hours. And
I do want to point out to your listeners that this is not a product for just for people who have sexual partners. The majority of our testers were using this alone for self-pleasure, and we still encourage individuals to use this to enhance their experience. I have an ex-girlfriend told me it was the best self-sex of her life, and I have a friend that says it's better without her husband. So
there's a lot of women who say that.
I don't want to get into those specific issues of those dynamics, but it really is for use as an individual or in relationship to one or multiple partners, whatever is your flavor.
Of course, as well, the oil would be automatically, there would be a high percentage of antibacterial in there, wouldn't it? Because THC has been found to be an antibacterial, an antifungal.
The coconut oil, that's correct.
And the THC, I believe. I think they're finding that certainly that could be one of the possibilities that THC is the antifungal and antibacterial.
I mean, who knows? We might find ourselves in a world where we're all taking, a gram of THC oil a day in the morning instead of our orange juice or a cup of milk.
Yeah, I do, by the way.
No,
you already do.
Well, you do. I mean, Steve, you use topical, you use oils, you use hemp. I mean, let's face it, listeners, by putting hemp seeds in, using your hemp oil, using hemp products, you are getting all the goodness in. So incorporate it into your daily life, use it round the clock, and you'll see the difference. Right, Steve?
Well, this seems to be, this cannabinoid deficiency is certainly, the school of thought on it is really taking off now, that to be cannabinoid deficient is not how the body is meant to be. That's why we have an endocannabinoid system. That's why we have a plant that supplies us with what we need. And we seem to be finding more and more that people are using the plant. Those that are sick are getting better. Those that are not sick are regenerating very fast. And the sense of well-being is outstanding. And I noticed with myself, even though I have a very low immune system, I was surrounded with some friends the other day that all had some funny cold, flu thing. And I sat in a room with them, and I left, and I've been fine. I haven't caught the cold that they all have, and these are supposed to be all fit people. So,
see, there
I go with this endocannabinoid system, and the endocannabinoid that needs feeding. And once we've reached that stage, then our bodies are more in tune and they're functioning how they should be.
Absolutely. Yeah. Reaching homeostasis. Listeners, when we come back, we're going to find out more about Matthew. We're going to learn about the new Washington recreation law and more from Steve. Casper, take it away.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
If you are in the Portland, Oregon area and are an OMMP card holder, then come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market, Portland, Oregon's first and only weekly OMMP market, presented by the Alternative Wellness Center, located at 5241 Southeast 72nd Avenue, 2 blocks south of Foster Boulevard, close to public transportation, held every Sunday 10 a.m. till 7 p.m., connecting quality vendors with patients. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market also has a weekly raffle with products from every vendor. So come down to Nikki's Diggity Dank Market and have fun while connecting with quality vendors and getting great natural medicine. If you are a vendor and want a chance to connect with OMMP patients, you can check out their Facebook page at facebook.com/Alternative Wellness Center or call 971-888-4392. Be sure to register early because space is limited. Nikki's Diggity Dank Market.
In need of a ganja vacation? Blaze away.
Don't criticize it.
Hotbox Jamaica. Chill.
Legalize it, yeah.
Relax. And burn all day while watching the amazing ocean view. Listen to the birds. Bathe in the mineral waters of the Ganja River. Munch on tasty Jamaican Rasta food. Take a weed farm tour and hold a meditation. Book this amazing vacation for $420. Get the Sativa Special. 7 nights in Sativa dorms with ganja meals and airport transfer. Check us out at hotboxjamaica.com. That's hotboxjamaica.com. Hotbox Jamaica, a higher meditation vacation.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com, or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box.
Free? Did you say free? Free hemp? Free hemp? Free hemp video and audio? Free downloads of all the top artists, all the pot artists on planet Earth. Interviews with all the people making the movement, making the hemp movement. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp.
Hello, we're all back. Lovely. Great. Right, we got Matthew. I love Matthew. I think what he does is brilliant. Yeah, I've got so much in common. Matthew, one thing I'd like to know is, because I'm a sort of cream manufacturer and formulator, and I've always found it quite difficult to get my creams into the mainstream press because of the connotations of cannabis hemp in them. How has the press sort of perceived your products? Are you having...
I've been in the entrepreneurial space for around 10 years, and I've really never seen anything quite like this in terms of the early pickup by the media. In the States right now, there's a voracious appetite for anything to do with marijuana and legalization and as medicine. So that was already primed. The interest was already there, and they're looking for these types of stories. But essentially, any press is good press. We're trying to bring awareness to our medicinal, and the individuals who are going to read about it, they'll process through the lens of their own experience. I mean, I could say unfortunately, but the reality is that anytime you're talking about product that's dealing with female sexuality, most of the press tends to be a little bit sophomoric. And they look for the quick joke, and they look for the sensational headline. It's like a paranoid person in a dark room with a flashlight, and that's all they can see. So, but which, ultimately getting into Cosmopolitan magazine, in our first week of opening up our doors, and that led to a tremendous flood of interest and outreach, basically globally. I mean, we're getting, daily, we get emails from 5 to 10 new countries.
Yes.
And, it's unfortunate that we have to say, I'm sorry, we can't really help you at this time. We can, hopefully that'll change. But to be in a position where you have a medicinal that could be a benefit to someone and you can't sell to them, it's tough.
I hate to be sort of sensationalist about it as well, but obviously when other women start talking about how functional this cream is, I'm sure you will have a lot of women in various countries wanting to get to this cream, and politicians will not stand in their way.
Well, I wanted to tell your listeners, just because I imagine most of your audience is over the pond there, is that
I'm lucky. I've got a very global. We do sort of Australia, South Africa, Iceland.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It interested me, that media bit, because one, I'm in the media and I'm giving a talk on media in very shortly. But the thing is, I actually picked you up in a small article in an English magazine. There was a small article about you, where it obviously filtered out from Cosmopolitan, filtered out to another magazine, and this little tiny sort of paper had picked up on you in the UK. And that's how I sort of saw your product for the first time.
Sex and cannabis, as you know, it does travel cross-cultural, cross-religious boundaries. It really can be the great unifier.
Well, Freud said, didn't he, sex sells anything.
Love it. Matthew, do you have a shout-out for anybody today? Any thank yous or way to go or I love you, sweetheart?
I have a shout-out for Stephanie LaRue, who's a dear friend of mine who's been fighting cancer with RSO, Rick Simpson oils, and good living and orgasm and sex and pleasure, and she just got her counts back yesterday, and cancer is basically leaving her system.
Whoa.
I think 2021 was the number, and that's what she got, so she's really on the road to full recovery.
Brilliant. That's what we love to hear. Another good cannabis story, another cure out of the thousands that are happening around the globe every day. You wake up, politicians. Your time is over. Get out of the way.
Yes,
medicine,
absolutely.
It does more than medicine. It does more. Look at this product that Matthew's invented, formulated. No, seriously, it's a fantastic product because all the other ones out there are all chemically enhanced.
Right.
And using a chemical inside of that particular part of the body is very dangerous. Yeah. This is what can cause cancers.
I grew up in a household of physicians. My father was a pediatric oncologist. I'm a big fan of the scientific method. I don't think all the FDA pharmaceutical efforts are in vain or just driven just by money, but I think that there's a real opportunity here to look at this plant in a way that can allow for it to be utilized by the greatest number of people. And there is real science that needs to be applied to the plant. But I think one of the challenges that we're going to see is that, they call the entourage effect, right? That there's this multitude of CBDs and these chemicals in the plant that we respond to, and it's quite complex, and the sum is greater than the whole. The sum is greater than the whole. Wait, no, what I'm saying. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? So they're not going to necessarily be able to isolate everything and break it down and have the same effect. So we might be in a position where the best use of the plant is a whole plant extract, and it's just to maintain the relationship that we have with it today.
In a way, I hope that right at the moment we don't actually discover all the way that it works, because I think we're far too immature as a species. Yeah, I think some secrets need to be kept back from us, because at the moment we seem to take all these things and just turn and monetize them, and it's just not working out for anybody. Matthew, I need to because we got an international audience. I want to just move on to Beth for a minute, because obviously the Washington thing, we would like an update on that, if that's okay, Dr. Beth, because we're reading some, obviously, general press is never covering the story properly. So what's happening over there?
Well, it is, I would love to tell you, it's very much like Denver, with everybody in the lines and everybody excited and jumping up for joy. And the press might be saying that that's what happens, because I'm looking right at a copy of the Seattle Times from Wednesday. First legal pot buyers get their piece of history. And it looks like everybody's there. And then you see the paper where all the press is there. But when I'm speaking with friends who are in the industry, they know that there's only one dispensary or one shop open in Seattle. There are two open in Tacoma area, but the supplies aren't there. They're going to be running out. It's open, but the supplies just aren't there. And it's going from anywhere upwards of $40 a gram after time the taxes are applied.
Wow, that seems
so we know the formula, that when you make it so expensive for patients, or for individuals wanting rec, you make it more expensive than that balance line of off the grid. Where will you go? You will go back to off the grid. It's logical. It's a logical process.
It's very unfortunate that the politicians, although they're moving into this market for the first time, they don't understand that we've had an off the grid market for 60 years, possibly 600 years. Yeah, we've been trading in this stuff since time immemorial.
Yes, yeah. But if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. So that's what's going on. I want to tell you it's great. I want to tell you it's very casual, very open. People are excited, but the supplies aren't there. They're not there.
So is there a reason behind that?
Well, I think that they just didn't anticipate the need that was going to be there. Remember, we can compare it to what we listened to last week about New Mexico. Cannabis experts in New Mexico last year were sharing with the government agencies that there was going to be a massive shortage and they needed to address it. What the controlling agency did was send out supposedly a survey, which they never used. They went ahead and made their own criteria and policy. And once it was published, there was mass public demonstrations. There were meetings being held, and even legislators coming in to testify saying, I wrote the law. Why aren't you following the law? So, if these agencies are embedded in bureaucracy versus progress, we're not going to see that. And the people are going to begin to call them on that. So I think Washington's taking the steps in the right direction. I just think it's Washington's way of doing it on Washington time, and that's okay. That's kind of how it's run here. It's in their time, and everybody's still good.
Good. And the main thing is, of course, the industry's got to sort itself out. The main thing is it's legal. People are not being prosecuted for it. Is that correct?
Yes, it's a free state, and I can tell you it feels wonderful to be in a free state. You're not looking over your shoulder. You're relaxed. It's different. The air is lighter, clearer, cleaner.
We had a very funny story come out in the British press about it. Apparently, one of the first customers at one of the shops, he was filmed obviously because he was one of the first customers, and the company he works for, his bosses saw him and thought he should have been at work and called him in the next day to sack him because he was at a pot shop. And they wanted to drug test him. And then he sort of went, no, one, it's my day off, and two, it's legal. And they went, oh, yeah. So it is. It's not a problem, is it? It's like, obviously, people changing their mentality. That one minute they thought they caught him doing something that was wrong, and of course he wasn't. He was just having a day off. going to get some recreational pot, or even possible medical pot. Who knows? It doesn't really matter, does it?
Doesn't really matter. Probably enhanced what he was doing at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just amazing. But I can tell you that of the places that are open, it's Creative Retail Management in Tacoma Rainier, and there's another one in Seattle at 2733 4th Avenue South. And those are the ones that are open so far. But when I called and went there, they're not. They just don't have the supplies. Now, maybe in the next 2 weeks we're going to see it, but it's pretty slow.
Have they got Matthew's oil in there? That's what I want to know.
Well, absolutely. Matthew, contact us if you want to think about doing what other manufacturers have been doing. Cannabis manufacturers have been doing is, going to state and following complete laws as always. But we can help you up here on that one. So, Steve, anything else for the good of the cause this week?
Yeah, one of the things you could clear up for us a bit, I know you're not quite on the borders, but we're getting a lot of very odd press in the UK at the moment about your borders being open with Mexico, and it just seems to be, they're really jumping on it, saying the borders collapsed, that you've got thousands and thousands of Hondurans and Colombians and God knows, a lot of South American people, and they're blaming it on the drug war. There was a great thing on one of the channels the other night about somebody that really knew what, and he said, well, what did you expect? There's a drugs war going on down there. Who wants to live in a war zone? So they're moving up towards your borders. Yeah. Is that correct? Is it as bad as that?
No.
Or is it just the press hyping it?
As always, it's the press. My friends in Texas are just, down in Brownsville are saying it's nothing more than it ever was at the highest point that it was. So not really. And when you think about it, is it any different than the Berlin Wall?
No,
it should come down. We should be doing the right thing. That's, the human thing. And using the framework of which we talk about, which is the cannabis way. What would those who are cannabinoid sufficient say? We would say we're a global community. Yeah. Let's take care. Let's feed the world. We know we can feed the world in 90 days or less with hemp. We know these things. We know that whole countries can be built, that can be sustained, can be developed and increased with the use of cannabis sativa, whether it's medicinal cannabis, recreational cannabis, or if it's industrial hemp. We know those things. Listeners, use your hemp products, use your cannabinoid system to fulfill it as much as you can. Ointment, cream, smoke, spray, Foria, use it. Absolutely. Make your life better. As we've said before, we don't know how cannabis will be improving our lives. We probably won't know that for another 20, 30 years, but use it enhanced. You've learned today about Foria, about a spray that can help with dryness and enhancement. Women, think about this, consider this. This is something that can be used all the time, that you would not have dryness during your normal typical day. You would be able to be sufficiently hydrated. These are very important things. Yeah. So, Steve, any last thoughts today?
No, as you say, look, wear hemp, build with hemp, make plastics from hemp, make it for paper with hemp, use hemp food, use hemp medicine, and you will see a better world.
Absolutely.
And the sooner that happens, the sooner the change will take place. The change is going to take place. That's without a doubt. We can accelerate that change. It's up to us how fast it happens. The quicker we make it happen, the quicker we can leave this petrochemical nightmare behind that we've been living in for the last 60 to 100 years and get on and live in this beautiful green, golden planet, or green planet that we actually do live on. It's up to us, the people.
Absolutely. And Matthew, we call that the neo-cannabis times, or because when we refer to that, it's when it is legal, when those walls are down, and we have to think about what is next. And your product is really what is next. It's something that helps.
You're here. I can't thank you guys enough for bringing me on the show, and you're both an inspiration. Your knowledge and your passion for this, and your hearts are all in the right place. And I really appreciate it. Hope we get to meet again in person, or I can come on again in a couple months and let you know what's going on in Fairyland.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're going to Matthew, we're going to talk about creams offline.
If ever you needed an excuse to visit California, you now have another one. So
spray me.
Don't worry, you'll be on the top of my list. I show you my creams, you show me yours.
All right, sounds good.
There you go.
All right, guys. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank
God bless
you
you.
very
Right,
much,
just
Matthew.
big shout out for your website again, please, before you go, Matthew. Where do we find you?
Oh, you go to Foria, Foria, pleasure.com. ForiaPleasure.com. Or you can find us on Facebook as well.
Thank
Who
you.
stole the name
Thank you.
Oh, that was me.
That was you.
Love it, love it. Let me
Yeah.
go ahead and that's right. Let me go ahead and do my shout outs today. I want to give a special shout out to Dabstar. Dabstar converted some product for us into the best shatter ever this week. So go Dabstar. We love you as always. To the Muse, you rock it. Seattle, we are there soon. And to Emily Amanda, we love you, girl.
Yeah. Love you all.